So hello guys, welcome back. In this video we'll be continuing with the animation series, and this time we'll be working with animated button border, right? So let's get started without any further delay. Let's remove the shape window and import uh, components quick.controls.material. I'll be using material theme. Uh, you have seen me using material theme over the videos. You can choose any other theme you want, but make sure to also check the other properties which are set by default. I'm choosing material because it looks good according to me, and it's universal. It's also used in Flutter and other applications, right? So you can choose any theme you want. There is also a thing called Fluent UI, Fluent with UI 3 for Windows. I'll show that in a later video. So anyway, this time we'll be implementing a button. So let's first add a button, and I'll say button anchors. Okay, centering parent. Right now, the content item on the button will be a simple text, which will say hover me. So I'll say anchors dot. Okay, I don't think that will work. Maybe that could work, but this time it will not, because content item will fill the entire button, so centering will not actually work there. So font point size will be let's say 12.5, and weight also you can use decimal in point size. The weight will be font.demibold, and I think that's good enough. Also color will be white, and let's make it font dot uppercase, all uppercase. And the actual text value, I forgot to add that, it will be hover B. It will become uppercase because of the capitalization. So hover B. So this was about the content item. Also will be adding a background. So background, and for the background, let me pause for a moment and think, guys. What can we add for a background? Let's add an item. Just a minute. Anchors.fill parent. So inside the item we'll be adding the rectangle, right? For now, forget the rectangle. It will only be a border. So I'll say property real for double values, and border width 0.15. We'll be changing this value. I'll show you what I'm actually doing, right? And again, property real border height, which will be again 0.15. And now let's add two borders. Just give me a moment, guys. Let me open my Chrome, the MFC. Let me open the board. Let me show you what I'm actually trying to implement. Okay, so let me show you what I'm actually trying to implement before we any further. Yeah. So actually, what I'm thinking is the button will say hover. The button will say hover B. So hover B, and there will be border like this and like this. And when you hover over the button, like when you put the mouse over here, it will be filled. It will be filled. And again, when you hover out, then again it will become like this, right? So basically a border button something, right? So what actually we can do is, this rectangle will have initially width 1.5 into total width, right? So let's say this is the total width. Initially only have 0.15 multiplied by total width, and say for the height, let's say this is the total height, so it will be 0.15 into total height. Same for this, 0.15 into total width, 0.15 into total height. And when you hover over it, instead of 0.15, it will be 1 into total width. So full width, 1 into total height. so full height, right? And when you hover out, so again this change this one to 0.15. Very simple, right? So let's do that. So add 4 rectangles. I'll say top border, so it will be the top left. So anchors dot left, parent dot left. Instead of that, we could just do this. Top parent dot top, and width of, let's say, border width multiplied by parent dot width. Let's give some spacing, and height of, let's say, 1, and the color can be anything. Let's choose any default color from coolers right now, whichever looks good. Excuse me. Let's choose this color. Don't forget to give a hash. Now let's see for now how this looks. Obviously this should be modified, but at least something should be there, right? Reference header border width is not defined. Let's give it an ID of, let's say, background border, or border background. I think that would be better. So I'll say border background dot border width. Now let's see. Okay, so we can see something, right? And 1.15, that's the width for this. Now let's do one thing. Let's also change the implicit width. So I'll say implicit height of, let's say, 50, implicit width of, let's say, 200. So I think this will be more visible for both of us. Instead of 50, let's change the height to 70. Yeah. So this is the top. This rectangle which we built is this one, right? Now we need to build this one. So left parent dot left and top parent dot top, but this time we'll be implementing the height. So just copy this. Left border. So this time height will be border background dot border height multiplied by parent dot height, and width will be 1. I hope you are getting my point, right? If you don't, let me show you. So if width is 1, it will be this wide, and we can increase the height. If width is parent dot width, it will be this large, and if the height is 1, it will be like. I hope you are getting me right. So for example, this rectangle has some width. Sorry, this is the width, this is the height. So if you only say height equals 1 and width equals, let's say, 50, so it will be like this. But if you say height equals 50, width equals 1, so it will be like this. Are you getting me? So that's exactly what I'm doing. This thing will also be the same. Now for the bottom rectangle, right? Let's say this is the actual rectangle, and let me change the color to yellow. So this one, parent dot right equals this this border dot right, parent dot bottom equals border dot bottom, and this now there is an issue here. This has to move upward, right? This has to move upward. So but both works fine, right? Let me show you why. Let's say this is a box and this is another box. So this bottom and this bottom, if both are the same, and this height is, let's say, 50, this height is, let's say, 100, right? So it will be like this. Are you getting me? Because both the bottom has to be the same. So if you increase this height, it will move upward because this bottom has to be the same, right? For example, let's say there is a ground and there are 2 buildings. If you add one more story, if you add one more like block to the building, it will only move upward because ground is the same. Similarly, parent dot bottom and border dot bottom means the ground will be the same, and if you increase the height, it will only go upward. I hope you got this point. So this will be right border, it will move upward, so height will be this thing, width will be 1, color same, and instead of top it will be anchors bottom is parent bottom, anchors right is parent right. It will all be clear just once when you learn this. And this will be bottom border, same thing here, but instead of this we'll be copying this thing actually, because for the bottom border, see, we did this, this is remaining, right? So we have to fill the width. So height will be 1, width will be the value. So for this, height will be 1, width will be this thing. Dot border width multiplied by parent. Let's run this application and see it once. If you see, we clearly got the animation we want. Now on hovering this, we should change it, right? So let's do that. Let's add a property. Let's call it my button. And when you say my button dot hovered, then set it to 1, otherwise set it to 0.5 again. Hovered, set it to 1, otherwise set it to 0.15. Let's see. As you can see, it's filling, but the duration is very fast. We need some animation here, right? We need some animation here. So for that animation, we'll be working on that. But if you are not able to see this properly, let me change the height to 2, width to 2. So it's a bit more thick, and you can easily see this thing. Let me show you once more. Yeah, I think this is more visible, right? So let's try to add the animation thing here. So let's do, when the border width or the border height changes, right? Do something. So what we will do, when this border width and the border height changes, this width will also change, right? So we can do behavior on width. Behavior on width. Because if this border width changes, this width will also change, right? Because this is going from 0.15 to 1 and 1 to 0.15 or 15% to 100%, right? So this will also change. If this changes, this multiplication value will change. So width will also change. So I'll say behavior on width, number animation, duration, let's say 600. I think that will be good enough. So everywhere width is changing. Let's add that. So here also width is changing. Here height is changing. So I'll say behavior on height. And let's copy this and add also here. Let's okay. Let's run the application once. As you can see, it's good enough, right? So yeah. Now one thing, everywhere we are placing 600 duration. Instead of that, we can do one thing. We can make a property. So property in duration, animation duration or anim duration for short. Let's say 300. I think it will be good enough. And then we'll say border background dot anim duration. Border background dot anim duration, and just copy paste this everywhere. So if you want to change the duration, we only need to change in one place instead of 4 other places, which is very tedious. Similarly, for the color also, we can add a property called property color, border color, and let's add the color from here. And here we can say simply border background dot border color. So if you want to change the color, we only have to change it in one place instead of all the other places. So it's a bit more convenient. We can also change this default height and default width. So yeah, we could also have done that. Let's see. Yeah, so this is the animated border button, right? So now we can also add a drop shadow thing here. So if you do the rectangular shadow thing, we can also add that. Am I using Qt 6.9? Yeah. So we can add a rectangular shadow. if you remember what a rectangular shadow is, this thing, right? So instead of anchors.fill my rectangle, you can do that. Let's try if this works for a button. If this does not, then I'll show you layer.effect thing. Okay, so for that I have to import QT QML anchors.fill my button. No need for radius. Let's say color is border background dot border color, and let's see if this works. And this works, but if you see the inner part, if you see like the inner part of this button thing is like it's filling the entire button thing, which we obviously don't want. So how to fix that? Well, one thing we can do is we can add a color here, like we can add a rectangle here, and we'll say rectangle anchors.fill parent, and the color of the rectangle will be let's say the color of the window. Let's give it an ID of a root, so I'll say root.color. Now let's see. But you see there is an offset issue, so instead of giving offset, we'll set it to 0, so it's in the center, right? Offset means move it to left or right. No need for that. Blur I'll say 16, spread I'll say 4. Let's see. Let's do one thing. Let's change the opacity property here. ID is rectangular shadow, and let's say visible or opacity, anything works fine, right? Let's say add visible. So visible will be my button dot hovered. So when we hover, then only show this, otherwise don't show this, right? So if my button dot hovered is true, it will be visible, otherwise it will not be visible. Let's see. As you can see, it's visible only when we hover over it. So yeah, there is a glowing neon button effect. You can also change the color. If I add a pink color, I think it will look much more better. So let's do that, and let's see. This is also a button which I taught in my previous video. The code is a bit different, but this one is also a good enough code, right? So yeah, this was the effect there. So yeah. Anyway, thank you for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.